Thank you for tuning into the Here Now Show. I am your host, Rhonda Ray. And if you tuned into my show before, you know I'm coming from the Midwest where we come in and show out. Gotta love your city. Hello, somebody. And if you've been to my show before or listened to my show before, you know that the Here and Now show is a show where I took real life events and changed them into a positive living. And and as a also wanted to create a space for your any of my listeners to feel comfortable to leave a question or a comment at any time because I believe that all voices matter. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. Yeah. If you're tuned into my show before, you know that I have a thing for jazz music. It's for me, it sets the mode, it sets the atmosphere. So we'll take a few seconds and do what I like to do best and play a little jazz music before we start the show today. While I get on my glasses. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Here and Now show. I am so glad you guys are here with me today. I feel so excited about it right here and right now because it is a blessing to have you guys listening, to tuning in and showing up. But today's message that I'm talking about is personal. Today I'm talking about something that a lot of people don't like to admit that they're going through. And yeah, I don't like it sometimes. It's starting over. Now understand that starting over is not starting from scratch, right? That now let that set with you for a minute. Starting over does not mean you started from scratch. So let that set for a minute. Understand that you know that when you start over, it doesn't mean you're starting from the bottom. Now let that set that for a minute because I believe that someone, who's listening right now, something has ended, something shifted, or something didn't work out the way we planned. And I definitely can relate to that. And you're sitting there thinking like, what do I do? What can I do next? I can definitely relate to all of those moments. And if I'm being real, starting over can feel so frustrating, right? It can feel exhausting and sometimes a little unfair because now you're thinking like, I'm already put the work in. I've already gave my time and I'm already tried. And now I'm here like, here I am again. Ooh. I mean, like sometimes for me, starting over was like when you clean up your whole house, right? You know, cleaned it up from top to bottom. And then 5 minutes later, someone comes in with really dirty shoes. And you're like, really? We're doing this again? But let me shift your mindset for a minute today. Because you're not at the beginning. You're not starting from nothing. No, no, no. You're starting from experience. You're learning from lessons. You're starting from everything that you've already survived. Hello, somebody. And and I think that's beautiful. You know, to look back at something and say, I already survived that. So I got the motion to keep going because if I survive this and I survive that, I can survive a lot more, right? And get that endurance and the build up. So if you guys know me and you've been listening to my show, you know that I love to share stories. I love sharing them. I think you guys are wonderful. I just want you to bear with me with my stories, because it's a part of me. It's a part of who I am, and I enjoy it. So bear with me. But there was a time in my life where I had to start over in ways I didn't expect to. You know, I had it all planned out. I had it all mapped out in my mind how I thought things should go or how I thought things would go. But then life said, no, we're going a different direction. And I remember feeling like I worked so hard. I worked so hard for all this to just to fall apart. And I had even questioned myself and I felt unsure. And if you start to question yourself, you start to feel unsure, then the next thing for me, I started wondering if I'd failed. And that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. And then I remember sitting there one day and I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, am I really back at the beginning? But then, but then I started seeing things differently, right? I realized that I wasn't the same person. You know, I realized I wasn't the same person that I used to be because I had grown. And I'm not meaning in age, I mean mindset. It had grown because you're always going to grow in age until the day you die. And we hope that doesn't happen for a long time. And I was, because I have grown and, in my mentality, I had learned, you know, and I had gotten stronger. Hello, somebody. Because getting stronger feels great. I mean, you get strong, you're like, and yes, again, I'm streaming from home. So you might hear my dog bark a little, but we're not worried about that. Dogs bark. She probably want to be a part of the show. By the way, that dog barking in the background is my dog, Penny. So she's probably going to bark a few seconds. She just wanted to bark. I remember feeling unsure. And once you start to feel unsure, I was sitting there and I'm just thinking, like, I wish things had, be quiet, doggy. Bloopers. That happens. But as I was sitting there, I started seeing something different. Like I said, I had realized that I had, was not the same person. I had grew. I had, I had got stronger. And even though my situation had looked like a total restart, I wasn't starting from zero. I was starting from wisdom. Okay. And that's what I want you to understand. And I want everybody to understand today that when life makes you start over, it's not taking everything from you. It's building something new for you with everything that you've already gained. Right. Now I know let's be honest for a minute. Nobody, you know, wakes up and say, hey, I want everything to fall apart today so I can quickly go rebuild it. No, we don't say that. Because for me, I look for comfort. I look for things to go accordingly. But growth doesn't happen with comfort. And I learned that real early in life. It doesn't. It's very uncomfortable when you're growing and when you're getting growth. But it didn't happen in comfort. Sometimes, you know, your faith will allow you to shift, right? And your faith will allow things to shift, right? It's not breaking you. It's making you. It's not breaking you, but it makes you move, and it stretches you, and it prepares you for something greater. So always remember that as you're walking with your faith, and faith will shift things. That's not to break you, but to stretch you, to prepare you for something greater. And I know that's not always easy to hear when you're in the middle of it all, because you're in the middle of it and it just doesn't feel like growth. It feels confusing. It feels very overwhelming. And it's like, I got to start all over again. But let me remind you of something that I think is so powerful. You've already survived 100% of your worst days, right? Think about that. Think about that. Every time that you thought, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, you made it through. You still woke up. You still got up. I got my microphone on. You still got up, showed out. You still showed up. You got up. So what makes you think you can't handle this new chapter? You know? It's possible. And let's talk about what you're going to carry into this new chapter. What are you bringing into this new chapter? Well, I think for me, that it carrying, I'm going to carry some strength, you know, you're carrying knowledge and you're carrying discernment, right? And you're carrying all those things. And now, once you carry those things and you got it halfway in the bag and you're moving those mountains, now you see things different. Now you can realize what's for you and what's not for you. And that makes you move wiser. That and that's not starting from scratch at all, baby. That's leveling up. You understand what I'm saying? And some of us is not starting over, it's just starting better. And and starting better, starting over is some of us don't even know it, but you are doing it. Sorry, my back itches. Because this time we're not going to ignore the red flags. Hello, somebody. No, this time we're going to step into our boundaries and take our boundaries. And at this time, you're going to trust yourself more and more and more. Hmm. And that is a change in itself right there. Once you do that, that is a change right there. That is a change right there because you're putting your boundaries up there and you're trusting yourself again. And then all of that is within change. It's beautiful to me. But I also want to talk to anybody that feels tired. That's probably a lot of us. Or because you're tired because you don't start it over and you're wearing it out and you're like, I don't know if I could do this again, you know? And that's some real feelings. Because there are times you're like, oh, I don't want to do this again. And that's a real feeling. So don't disregard your feelings. But let me encourage you. You don't have to figure it all out. And you don't have to rebuild everything overnight. Like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. So you don't have to rebuild everything overnight. All you have to do is just take the next step, one decision, and one moment at a time. And listen, some days I know the next step might look like just getting out of the bed. Hello, you did it. Or saying, okay, I'm going to try this one more time again today. Don't let anybody tell you that don't count. That you're getting up out the bed and you're going out to try it again. Don't let nobody tell you that doesn't count because anybody that tells you that doesn't count, they're they're not telling you the truth because everything counts. So don't let nobody tell you that, because it does count. Moment by moment, second by second. Because progress doesn't always look big. It doesn't. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks slow. Sometimes it literally looks like healing. Hello, somebody. You know. And here's something that I try to remember, and you guys could remember too. Starting over is not a punishment. It's not. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to do things different. It's a choice to grow into who you are really meant to be. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means you're growing. It just means if you're growing, it just means that you're growing. And if you are in this place right now, and if you feel like that, these are some things that I do sometimes. I'll take a breath and I tell myself, you're not behind. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from everything that life has already taught you. Let that soak in, you know? So as we sit here and now, I want you to hold on to this. You're not starting over. You're starting stronger. And that makes a lot of difference. A lot of difference. If life has you in the season where you're starting over, don't look at it as at the end of your storm. No, it's not. It is not the end of your storm. Look at it as a place where your new story begins, with more wisdom, more strength, and more purpose. So the next time, you might catch yourself saying, I have to start over. I want you to pause, change those words and say, I get to start over. Hello, somebody. But this time, I am not the same person. Well, how are you different? Well, because I'm not. I'm growing. So that makes me a different person. And you're learning and you survive things that you felt like were impossible. You've ever survived something that you didn't think that you could? Because surviving something that you think you couldn't survive and you survived it, that means something and that matters. That means a lot. And it truly matters because I've seen people that I've known, climb some tall mountains and they didn't think they could make it across to the other side of that mountain. They did. And it didn't happen overnight. Like I said, there were times when I had to shift my life and the way that I thought it was supposed to go. And then life told me, well, it's not going that way. We're going to go this direction. And then, with my faith always on my side, it also kept me afloat. So, you know, starting over can be very refreshing and it can be uncomfortable, but it's winning in the end. You will be so glad when you cross that winning side. So don't walk into the next chapter with fear. Walk in it with faith, you know. Walk into it knowing that everything you've been through has prepared you for what's ahead. So don't walk into fear. You don't have to rush. No, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You just you don't need to have it all figured out. You just keep going and going and going, one step at a time, one by one, day by little micro steps. Doop, doop, doop. So, and I wanted to say that sorry, guys, I just want to make sure I was on the right pace because we've been on the air for a little over 17 minutes. But I wanted to play a little jazz music before we end the show. I think that this was a great topic, a great conversation. A little jazz music before I end the show and let you guys know that you can always tune in and want to hear some nice jazz for a few seconds, a few moments. Set with me. Didn't that feel nice just to have that little doom, 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 doom? Yes, it felt nice to me. So, if no one has told you today, I want to say to all my listeners, all my viewers, if no one said this to you today, I'm gonna say it, and I mean it because I mean it. You ever heard this? Yeah, I mean it. I think that you are stronger than you think. I think you're more capable than what you feel, and your story is not over. Your story is not over. It's actually, and if your story is still going, the books, the pages are still turning, life is still going. You still have opportunity to seize more things, to grow bigger, greater, and better. You're already great. You can be greater, right? You're already beautiful, beautiful. You're already handsome, handsomer. Amplifier. You know, understand yourself, love yourself, right? So this message spoke to you, to your heart. Share it with someone, like it, comment if they need it, um, because you never know who's standing on the edge of trying to make a new beginning and having the strength to take the next step. You just never know. You could be standing right next to them right now and scared to take the next step. And your encouragement, encouragement from other people can give them the step to say that they can, they will, and they will be, and they can do it. Because as long as you wake up and you have air in your lungs, you have a chance to keep going and going and going. So remember, starting over does not mean you are starting from scratch. Hello, somebody. Thank you guys for this moment here, the now. I'll see you guys next week, every Tuesday and every Thursday. So honored to do that. Much love. And I want you guys all to remember when you get off my show today, I want you to remember that you are happy, healthy, and you're needed in this world. You are needed. And it wouldn't be the same if you wasn't around. So understand that life is valuable and so are you. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week.